Hello class. Today we will be looking at the issue of data interpretation and data analysis. But before we look at that, let's have a recap of what the processes that are involved in doing a research that you have already known or has been exposed to you. Remember that when we do a research, these are the processes that you will need to do. Yeah, you will start with a research problem, and from this problem, you will be able to develop either your own research questions or hypothesis that you want to test. Okay, and this is followed by an operational definition of all the constructs and the variables that you would include in your research. And normally when you do this, you have to also look at the literature and review past literature in order to understand further how the construct was used in the past and what sort of methodology were used to test them. Yeah, and then also you will be looking at the issue of sampling, where you decide how many to sample, how to sample, where to sample, and all those great details that we have looked at in the past classes. Okay, and after that, you will also be doing or developing your instrument so that you can go and to the field and collect your data. And after data is collected, you will need to analyze the data. Okay, so what we are looking at today is the issue of data and data analysis. When we have collected a data, the numbers that we get on the questionnaire itself, yeah, this is called raw score. Yeah, this is the initial score that you obtain on the questionnaire that you have distributed to your samples. Okay, and then you also need to understand the concept of derived score. This is the score that you have aggregated and converted into some kind of data that you can understand and use to report your finding. Okay, so the raw score will be processed to become derived score, so that in the end you have percentages, you have mean, mode, median, z-scores, t-scores, and the like. Okay. Back to the questionnaire. When you before you go to the field and collect your data, you need to know what data you really need, and because of that, each data will need different kinds of scale to measure it. Okay, so you have to understand that there are 4 basic type of measurement scales, and these are called nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. Yeah, nominal comes from the basic word of for nominal is name. Yeah, so it indicates only name. There is no value for the scale. Yeah, you will look at this in detail later. And then ordinal refers to order. Interval refers to range from what to what, and ratio is also a form of interval, but with with absolute 0 point. Okay, so each type of scale will generate different kind of data for you, and all this data will either support or not support your. If you use it properly, it will support your finding. It will make your finding more illuminated, more clear. But if you use it wrongly, then of course you don't get the data, clear data that you're looking for. Okay, so that's why determining the measurement scale for your data analysis is very important. Okay. Okay, let's look at nominal scale. Nominal is the simplest form of measurement scale that researchers can adopt. Yeah, it assigns numbers to different categories in order to show differences. Okay, for example, just basic question like gender. Normally, we indicate we assign only 1 to female and then 2 to male. Okay, so this is just because there is no value there. We just need the name, indicate the number associated with name. Yeah, male and female. Okay, so there is no implication that female is more or anything else than males. So, yeah, we just need the number. That's why nominal. Ordinal is when the data is ordered in some way from high to low, or least to most. Yeah. So this is a question where we need to rank things. Yeah. For example, this is an example that you can see here. Please rank your preference for sport from 1 to 3 by filling the blanks. So if your least preferred is basketball, then it will be number 1. If it is the most, it will be number 2. If it is medium or the second one, it will be number 2. Yeah. So the difference in the scores or in the actual ability of the position will not be the same in this case. So it is designed to indicate ranking or standing. Okay, that's what ordinal scale is for. Interval scales, this is a higher level of measurement scale. It possesses all characteristics of an ordinal scale with one additional feature, and that is the distance between the points on the scale are equal. Okay, when you use interval scale, it can be used for questions that can include negative values. Yeah, for example, temperature. Minus 1 indicate a very cold temperature. So it is suitable for interval scale. Okay, so normally this kind of question where you can use negative values as your finding, you use interval scale. Okay, but if there is no true 0 point, meaning you cannot include negative values as your finding, then this is called a ratio scale. It's a kind of interval scale, but it does possess an actual or true 0 point. Yeah, so we can use this kind of scale for questions such as height. Yeah, how high is that building, or how high are you? Yeah, what is your weight? Yeah, what is your age category? This can be asked using ratio scales because there's no way you need the negative values in that question. Okay, and then this here are two examples of questions that we can use when we are using ratio scale category. Yeah. Number 1, what is your daughter's current height, for example? So it's less than 5 feet, between 5 feet to 1 inches to 5 feet 5 inches, 5 feet 6 inches to 6 feet, more than 6 feet. Yeah, that's ratio scale. Another example, what is the weight in kilograms? What is your weight in kilograms? Either less than 50 kilogram, 51 to 70 kilogram, 71 to 90 kilogram, 91 to 110 kilogram, more than 110 kilogram. Okay, you notice that the range between let's say 51 to 70 or 71 to 90 is the same. Yeah, so you need to be careful or be sure about this when you develop your question using ratio scale. Okay, so in some for the type of scale that we can use in our research questions or in the questionnaire, this one. If it is nominal, this is group and labels data only. It is reported in frequency and percentages. If it is ordinal, then it ranks data. It gives standing or ranking. It uses number only to indicate ranking. If it is interval, then it assumes that equal differences exist between scores, and equal differences in variables are measured. Okay, and if it is the ratio is almost the same as interval, but with a true 0 point, meaning you don't want to have negative values, or the question does not require negative values. Okay. Okay. So when you have the right measurement scale in your questionnaire, of course your questionnaire will be giving you the data that you need for the question that you want to answer. Okay, so once you have all this data collected, you will need to then go to the next stage, which is data analysis. Okay, data that has been collected, if it is scored accurately and consistently, then it would be able to give you a clear and useful data findings for your research. Okay, so accuracy and consistency are two very important things to take care of when you right from the beginning of your research, as I have mentioned again and again. Yeah, from the beginning of the research until the end of the research, you have to be coherent, you have to be consistent, you have to be accurate in focusing your research. Okay. Each individual test should be scored using exactly the same procedures and criteria. This is what we mean by consistency just now. Okay, you cannot use a certain analysis for a group of your data, and then another analysis for another group of your data, and try to compare them, because that will not give you any kind of meaningful finding. Okay. Once scored, the data can be tabulated and coded accurately and systematically. So this is when we start to look at the technology, which is the common application that people use these days for quantitative study would be SPSS. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with what SPSS statistical package stands for. Okay, if you're not, then please Google it, because it's everywhere in the internet and is widely available, even for free. I think in some of the version is for free, but of course the more later, or the latest version would have to be purchased. Okay, so when you want to enter data from your questionnaire to the SPSS, you have to prepare and code the data first. Okay, I have already found a good video that will show you how to prepare and code your data properly using SPSS. So I will be sharing that with you later. Also, I have also found a good video on how to clean the data when you're entering your data into SPSS. So please spend some time to watch these videos properly, take note, try to understand what is being explained to you, so that you will know much better. You have a much better understanding on how to use SPSS. Okay. So raw data, or the data that you have from your questionnaire just now, need to be processed in order to provide meaning to the objective and hypothesis of the research project that you are doing. Okay, so the data sets need to be aggregated. That means it needs to be collated, needs to be organized together, coded and entered into the SPSS system. Yeah, manual. Normally we do this manually. That means we go, we take each questionnaire and code and enter each of the data that we have from each questionnaire. Yeah, so that's why when we handle the questionnaire, we have to label the questionnaire properly, so that we don't miss any questionnaire, and we are doing things systematically. SPSS provide a good way, or a good application to make it easy for you to analyze your questionnaire or your questions, the data from your questionnaire systematically. Okay, so you can conduct all kinds of statistical analysis using this application, from basic statistic right up to the more complicated analysis. Okay, so normally people use an expert to help them do this. Unless you yourself is an expert of SPSS usage, then of course you can do it yourself. But normally people need a technical assistant who is an expert in using data analysis when they try to analyze the raw data that they have collected using their survey. Okay, normally that's what happened. But if you have the capability to use SPSS properly yourself, then yes, by all means, go ahead and make full use of it, because this is one application that is very useful. It gives you the ability not only to analyze, but also to present your data in some kind of illustration. Yeah, maybe you can design like graphs and tables of percentages and things like that, so that when you present it in your report, it looks very professional, very systematic, and very scientific. Okay. SPSS allows you to enter and store data. So when you enter, you can save it. It's a very, of course, very important to save it, because if you don't, then you will have to redo it all over again, just like any other computer application. So you don't want to have this mistake, and so you have to make sure you save it properly. Okay, and you can also choose whether to do univariate analysis, bivariate analysis, or multivariate analysis. Okay, and then you can generate data files, output files, and graphics, as I mentioned to you. Up to you. You decide. Yeah, you can be creative and you decide yourself what will be good for your research report, to make your research report look professional. Okay, you can print tabular results, you can prepare graphs and charts. Yeah, so it's very, very useful. Excuse me. After that, you of course, before that, actually, you have to do coding. Yeah, so this is where remember earlier I mentioned to you that I have found a good two good videos for you to look at, to watch on your own time, so that you understand better about data entry and data and coding, and also data cleaning. Yeah, so this is the link that I have given you here on how to enter data into SPSS. Is on YouTube, so it's very easy to access, and you just spend some time looking at it, taking notes, and try to understand what is being presented, or what is being taught there. Okay, I think it's a very useful video for you at this stage, in order to have at least a basic understanding on how to enter data into SPSS. And also another video that I'm presenting to you here on data cleaning. Yeah, we need to do data cleaning when we use SPSS, because sometimes we do all kinds of errors that needs to be ironed out first before we can make sure that the data that we have is useful and is suitable to use in SPSS. Okay, so we need to make sure the codings are correct, no errors in coding, no mistakes from the coding or the labeling of the questionnaires and things like that. So that's why data cleaning is another important step after you have all your raw data coded and inputted into the SPSS database. Okay. So take some time to again look at the video so that you can understand it. Okay, but basically when you listen to the videos and you look at the SPSS application itself, you realize that there are two kinds of statistics that can be done using this application. First is descriptive, comes from the word describe, that means basic statistics. And then the second one is inferential. This is the more complicated kind of statistics where you have to infer. Yeah, you have to look at it, determine what is significant, what is not significant, and then infer from that, make inference from that. Okay. So we need both types of data analysis in a research report. Because when you report your findings, you usually start with your descriptive statistics before looking at your hypothesis and trying to present whether your hypothesis is supported or not supported using the more complicated statistics that you use. Okay. So when we do statistics, we either do univariate analysis, which means we analyze only one variable at a time, okay? And we represent it using frequency distribution, mean, percentage, and all that about that variable. This is just one variable. That's why uni, okay? If we do bivariate analysis, bi means two. Okay, so we are considering some kind of relationship between two variables. So that's why what we are doing is analysis such as cross tabulation, scattergram, measure of association, chi-square, Spearman rows, and Pearson's R. All these you can look at the SPSS once you have the chance to go into an SPSS lab, or if you have the SPSS application all set there in your own computer, have a look. Have a look at all these kinds of analysis and see how they work. Okay, so that's bivariate. We have univariate, bivariate, and of course, the more complicated one is the multivariate analysis. Multi, as you know, means many. So this is a kind of analysis that can include more than two. Yeah, it involves more than two variables at one time. Example of it will be analysis of variance, ANOVA, yeah, multiple regression, path analysis, factor analysis. All these can be done if you know how to do it using the SPSS application. That's why I said if you can do it yourself because you know how to do it, then by all means go ahead. But otherwise, we will need to have some kind of expert to help us to do the analysis to make sure we do it properly. Because as per any quantitative analysis, it is garbage in, garbage out. If you are just randomly using SPSS without real understanding on how to use it, of course the data, the output that you get will be rubbish, will be garbage. Okay, it's not meaningful. It's useless for your report. You'll be reporting the wrong thing. So that's why consistency, accuracy, coherence are all important steps that you must take from A to Z in your research work. Okay. So, and then we can also do inferential statistics, where we take into consideration statistical significance, level of significance, type 1 or type 2 errors. Yeah. And this hypothesis testing are statements about the relation or the statement about the relationship that you have proposed in your hypothesis earlier. Okay, so that's why you have to again look at the significance level. Is it significant enough to be accepted, or is it not? Yeah. And then you have to also catch whether you have done either type 1 or type 2 errors to make sure that you don't do it. Okay. So a hypothesis, as you know what a hypothesis is an assumption of a relationship or a process that we can test. Yeah, and we know that what a null hypothesis is already, what an alternative hypothesis is already. Okay, a null assumes no relationship, whereas alternative assumes relationship. Okay, so this is what we test, and sometimes when we test, we do errors. Yeah, so this is what one of the researcher, Kumar, in 2005 noted, that the validity of a hypothesis may be incorrectly determined because of firstly an improperly developed research design. So that's why if not accurate, if it is not coherent, then of course what we have is a research design that can be questioned. Yeah, your external or your audience later on can say, oh, this is not correct, and you may have to redo it. So that's why from early in the research process, you have to make sure that your design is proper. Okay. This kind of error can also come up from inadequate or improper conduct of sampling process. When you improperly sample, you don't choose the correct number of sample, or you don't choose the right type of a unit of analysis, then of course you do not have an accurate data for you to analyze and to test your hypothesis. Okay, other problems can happen during data gathering, during analytical process, during statistical process. Yeah, we make mistakes during this time. Yeah, leading to unsound finding and unsound conclusion. So that's why we have to try to avoid doing these errors. Okay, so try to avoid introducing this error into your research project. And making sure that you do not reject a null hypothesis when in fact it is true, or accept a null hypothesis when in fact it is false. Yeah, so this takes a real understanding of what you are actually doing. Okay, and looking at your design from the beginning and your samples and the whole process of your study, of your research, so that you can say confidently, yes, I have taken all measures to make sure that I do not do any type of errors in my data analysis. Okay, so once we have a good data analysis, of course, it will generate a good finding that is going to be, you can use for your research report, and once make it confident enough for you to present it to your targeted audience, either your examiners or the client that you are serving as a consultant, or whatever target audience that the research is meant for. Okay, so that's all for now.